Um, okay. All right. We ready?
Ready.
Okay. Hey, Jabbers, welcome back for another duo episode with your favorite host. Today, we want to talk about morning routines, specifically morning routines that make your day as a small biz owner a whole lot better and more productive. So let's jump right into it. Kari, what was your morning routine, or what is your everyday morning routine?
Well, it's a great question because I feel like I have an ideal morning routine and a morning routine that typically happens that isn't probably the best. Um, but I mean, typically, I feel like I don't wake up super early. Um, I usually try to set my alarm for like 7:30. That doesn't always happen every morning, kind of depends. But usually, I used to be a person that was like, I need to work out first thing in the morning, start my day, which I will say is nice sometimes. But I feel like as I've gotten older, I like want to ease into my day. So typically I will wake up and I have to take my dog out right away. So either me or my husband's doing that. We've started going together, which is nice in the morning. So we'll go for a walk, which I feel like is great because I've been reading a lot about like getting sunlight first thing in the morning and like not being on your phone. Um, so we'll like walk around the block and then typically come back and do breakfast, coffee, and usually we'll just like play some morning music, like jazz music, and sort of just like chill in the living room before we start our day. And I would say that's kind of like a typical morning routine. Usually, if I do work out, I'll try to do like a late morning or like late afternoon type of thing. Cause I feel like I need to like dive into work first just to like get my brain organized before doing that. Um,
Because do
I
you wake
would
up thinking about work, or are you pretty, like, do you have that anxiety a little bit to be like, oof, I got to sit at my computer and get through those emails because I'm thinking about things? Or are you able to chill until you get to work?
I feel like I wake up thinking about work. And I will say, I admit sometimes I roll over, look at my phone, and I'm like, I'm gonna just pull up my email really quick. I'm really trying to break that habit. But I feel like even if I just take like a quick peek at my email, I'm like fine. And then I can like relax for a little bit. Because I'm like more of a late morning person where like I'll usually start work around like 10 a.m. Which I know some people are like have been working for 2 hours at that point, but I feel like I just need to like set my mind right for the day. And for a while I was really trying to like meditate in the morning too, like even a 10-minute meditation just to like relax my body and um being able to I feel like change my mindset for the day, just like be in a better mood and like feel like okay, I can tackle the day. Um so that's kind of my typical morning. But yeah, I feel like if I sometimes peek at it, also if it's like not a crazy busy week, I don't feel stressed to look at my email because I know a wedding's not happening this weekend. So I'm like, whatever, like those emails are not a rush email. So it'll be fine once I get into it at 10 a.m. or whatever.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of being self-employed, right? Being an entrepreneur, because you were saying, oh, you start your workday at 10 a.m. Great. I mean, that works for you, that works for your brain. And
Yeah.
I don't believe 9 to 5 is truly what everybody can handle. And I think some people are really good early morning. Some people are really good, more productive in the evening. And we'll talk about kind of a little bit of evening routine to set you up for success for the morning here in a little bit. But yeah, okay. I love hearing about
Yeah.
that daily routine.
Because I feel like sometimes I'll work later, like because my husband works a lot of nights. And so sometimes I am working till 6 or 7, just because I feel like I'm more in a flow state and it's like lighter out much later now. So I'm like, oh, it feels like 4 o'clock, but really I'm like, oh, it's 6 o'clock. So that's not every night, but I feel like sometimes if I'm in like a rhythm, I'll just work late and finish stuff. So, but yeah, Gabby, tell me about your morning routine.
Okay, so mine, we live out in the country and we have a lot of animals. So I have to think about them before it's kind of like I can barely put my oxygen mask on before theirs. But no, my alarm goes off at 7, between 7 and 7:15. I really try hard not to snooze. There was a podcast I listened to, I think it was Mel Robbins I was telling you about, and one of her things was like, do not press the snooze button because your brain will go back into that 90-minute sleep cycle and you don't want to interrupt it during the 90 minutes. Like if you have finished that 90-minute cycle, when your alarm goes off, you should get up and keep going. So I've been really kind of trying to do that. Um,
But what
I,
if you wake
Ooh,
up in that 90-minute cycle?
well,
Did she talk
okay.
about that? Because I'm curious.
No, well, that I didn't dive deeper into that, but yeah, great point. I think what ultimately happens, and we've all done this in college where we've gone down for a nap and you wake up and you're just groggy and a little disoriented, or if something startles you, you wake up and you're like, you're just, your brain is not done resting. At least that's how that is not scientific at all, but that is how I felt when I can tell I'm like probably a 90-minute cycle has not fully gone through. And this is why I feel so out of whack.
So what you're saying is we should all take 90-minute naps if we're taking a nap during the day.
Correct. You heard it
No
here.
cat naps.
No, full 90-minute naps only.
Mel Robbins approved. Okay, we love it.
Yes. Um, so yeah, I try to wake up on that 90-minute sleep cycle. Get up, and I used to be a notorious coffee before anything person. And I've worked on healing my gut the last few years and just trying to balance myself out a little bit more. And one of the big things my functional doctor had said was, please eat breakfast before coffee. And I know I'm not the only person that does that. And that is something I implemented probably about a year ago now. I just make sure to have if it's not a protein shake, it's just like a handful of nuts or a little bit of oatmeal. Like I understand some people are just not hungry right away, but something in your stomach, a slice of cheese, um, and that over time, getting into that habit has really helped me avoid that afternoon crash. I noticed I crave less coffee, which I think is
Mm.
good overall, and I'm not crashing mid-afternoon. So I will say that's kind of one of the best things I implemented in my routine. Um, but after that, it's feeding the animals. So we have horses to feed, dogs to feed, soon to be chickens to feed. Everyone, I have to get those chores done. So to your point, Carrie, by the time I sit down and work, it's 10, 11, unless I had early morning calls scheduled with clients. But I like that. That works for my brain.
Yeah,
And I feel like I got something accomplished, which is taking care of the homestead first, and then I can get to work.
I love it. Little homesteading life. It feels like just so calming. You should follow Gabby on was it Pinkerton Adventures?
Yep,
Yeah.
Pinkerton Adventures, all my homestead stuff.
Like sourdough making, gardening, like all of the things we all wish we were doing.
Well, it's funny you say that because one thing that I like, you listen to music, sometimes jazz music, which I totally love that vibe. I can picture it in my mind. Something that my husband and I do that's weirdly soothing for us in the morning is YouTube videos. And it's people like I watch a lot of homesteader videos and I like watching their morning routine, like their calm and cozy routine on the homestead. And get this, my husband's go-to calming video is this guy in Ithaca, New York that fixes tractors. There's no sound. There's maybe music, but it's just this guy tinkering along on his tractors. And you'll catch my husband sipping his coffee on the couch, just like having the coziest morning.
That's the sweetest thing. I bet that is it like an older guy, you said?
No,
Like
it's
fixing track. Oh,
no, it's I say he's in his 30s, maybe early 40s. He's
nice.
just living my husband's dream life.
Yep, yep. I mean, man, you can really make money doing anything.
Truly, truly. Okay. If we're talking about maybe this is your dream routine or something that's working really well for you now, what would you say are kind of your non negotiables when it comes to your daily routine? and why are they important to you? And like, why do they help you get set up for success that day?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I think this also goes back to like me be wanting to be more disciplined and implementing some of these things because I know I like feel better, right? So I definitely feel like, especially now that I mean, I live in Los Angeles, so it's usually always nice, but now that it's like today was like really warm in the morning and I like it gives me this feeling of summertime. And so I definitely feel like a non-negotiable, which also I have to take my dog out regardless, but just like going on a walk because it is nice just to like be outside and get some sunshine and like move your body first thing in the morning. So I feel like that's definitely a non-negotiable for me. I feel like even whenever we move, if I have a yard, I'll still like want to go on a walk because I just feel like it just helps like wake me up and everything. Um, I think definitely meditation for sure is like the other thing because I always feel so much better. And I think mindset is just such a huge piece of like especially as a small business owner, right? Like we can spiral all day long. I do it all the time of like if things aren't going well or whatever it is. And so I think getting in the right mindset to feel confident about the day and like how you're doing in your business is like really important. Um and also for me right now, like I have to eat in the morning. I'm pregnant, so I like need food and I don't drink as much coffee anymore right now either. I just like don't really crave it, which makes me sad, but I
Do you
also feel
crave
like
do you crave a warm beverage or were
um
you an iced person?
no, I was typically a warm like a hot latte type of person. Because we have an espresso machine, so I would like make lattes a lot. I feel like now as it's getting warmer, I definitely want a cold beverage. But no, I don't really crave like a tea or anything in the morning. I do miss having something besides just like water to drink. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's some mornings where I crave it, but I definitely feel better though, like cutting out coffee in terms of like anxiety, feeling jittery. That has gone down a lot, which is great. But I think I miss the routine of like sipping on a coffee. I've switched to decaf a lot too, which I'm like, it still brings kind of that nostalgia feeling, of just being like cozying up with a coffee and like sitting on your couch type of thing. But yeah, food is definitely I've gotten more into baking, so I'm like making pancakes in the morning and like, I'm also making sourdough bread and stuff like that. So I feel like just having a cozier morning with like a good breakfast is important to me.
I think the key that you just said is cozy morning. Like the ultimate vibe for morning time is cozy. If it's not cozy, it's not right, you
Right.
know? So I
Mhm.
don't care what the season is. Like winter, you can up the ante on the cozy by having candles or if you have a fireplace or I mean that's the dream, cozy blankets.
Yeah.
Spring, like even just fresh flowers or a different type of candle. The cozy is so, so important. And so I think too, I've developed my morning routine as very much a cozy thing. And I have to say my non-negotiables, like I mentioned, is really having the breakfast before coffee, specifically protein. I could go on and on about protein, and I don't think I realized until now when I'm in my mid 30s how little protein I was consuming and how much we are supposed to consume. I'm not going to go deep into this because we are not licensed nutritionists. And so everyone do your own research, talk to people, but like look it up because it is shocking. And it really is important for your brain. It's important for your gut. And there is that connection there. So if you're not feeding yourself properly in your gut, your brain is not able to function properly. So I know that affects my whole entire day. So making sure I eat. The warm beverage is key for me. My husband and I tried to go off coffee just a little bit to take breaks because we're easily addicted. So we would do tea instead of coffee. And as the key for me with tea was as long as I added milk and a little bit of
Mm.
a sweetener to kind of make it little more latte feeling, then it was great. It was just as good as coffee, in my opinion. Um, I was gonna ask you about your water intake. Like, I feel everybody's like, water, water, water. I cannot have water first thing in the morning. There is a
Oh.
feeling, I don't know what it is. I can't drink water on an empty stomach. I don't know if that's just me. But how do you feel your water intake? And do you notice if you take it first thing in the morning, do you feel different than later?
This is a funny question because everyone in my life is like, Carrie drinks so much water. Like my husband is like, I don't understand how you drink as much water as you do. Cause I'm like the person who like I'll wake up and like down a bunch of water. Like I have water on my nightstand. Like I have like a big Yeti cup that I use. But I'll have like a water bottle in the car, like everywhere I go. Like if we go somewhere and I don't have water with me, like 10 minutes in, I'll be like, I'm parched.
And have you always been like
So
this?
for a long time, yeah. Which like not growing up, I feel like once I got like older. So I think my water intake is really high, but it's interesting because I again have always wondered like, is my electrolytes low because I still feel thirsty. Like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and like drink more water. And so sometimes I'm wondering if like just plain water is not cutting it essentially. But yeah, I'm definitely the person
Ooh.
that's like I have a water bottle basically everywhere I go.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a
Yeah.
bad habit to have. I am curious, you should see about your electrolytes. Like,
Yeah.
I try to do Element once a day or once every other day. Those little, like, some people do liquid IV. Element just has, I think, less sugar, perhaps. Um, and I feel great. Because
Yeah.
I am not a guzzler, I feel like
Yeah.
this helps me keep the water a little bit more. But
'Cause yeah, I mean, even in the middle of the night, like if I get up to use the restroom, I'll come back and I feel like I feel parched. And so I'm like drinking more water. There's probably something wrong. But my
I would,
husband,
yeah,
my husband is like, I heard you drinking water in the middle of the night last night because I'm like so thirsty. But yeah, I would say that's not an issue for me of like maintaining hydration.
clearly.
Especially now being pregnant, I feel like if like even if it's a social thing, I drink a lot of like sparkling water too because I kind of want that like flavor of something else. And so I'm not drinking, in social settings. So I feel like a sparkling water or something is usually in my hand.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So we asked some people on Instagram and Threads to see what their must-dos are for the day, how they set up their morning routines, and we got a few responses. Um, a few of them were like, I mean, depends, right? Like a lot of people have families, some people don't. So some of them were like, wake up, coffee, email, get kids ready to school, workout, shower, work. It's like a full, like busy morning, right? Like I feel like some people live a whole other life before like 8 a.m. because they're up at 6 a.m. with kids and everything. But I feel like the consistent thing was coffee first thing, which is interesting that you talked about that. Like most people weren't saying like eat breakfast and then coffee. Some people quiet time, like alone time before kids or partner family wakes up, which I feel like that person's probably waking up at like 5 a.m., which props to them.
They have to
Um,
be. And I mean, that's what you were saying, like, depending on how many people are in your household and what's going on, like kids getting to school or a young baby that wakes up at 5 a.m. to feed or animal like, if you have cows to milk, you guys, those people wake up at, like, the crack of dawn to milk
oh my
cows.
gosh. Yeah.
So, that could be quiet time, though. I mean, you're just with your cows.
Are you gonna get cows, Gabby? Because you could let us know if that routine is.
You know, that's funny because on the YouTube homesteader that I watched this morning for my cozy morning, they had cows, and I was thinking to myself, I don't know, you have to like inseminate them every year,
Mm,
right? Because they can only give you milk when they're pregnant or
right.
after they give birth. And I was like, but then you find yourself with a bunch of cows, like they keep reproducing. I don't know that I want that. So I'll get back
Yeah.
to
Oh,
you maybe
interesting.
next year.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Some other stuff was mindfulness and breath work. Again, like getting into meditation.
Do you do an app for that, or is it guided or is it just kind of breath?
I have the Peloton app because we have a bike, and within there they have like a bunch of different workouts, and they also have meditation classes. So most of those are just like a guided, someone's talking, you can close your eyes type of thing. So I just use that currently. I used to use Headspace and then I stopped paying for it. I did love that guy's voice. It was like the British, it was it British or Australia? I don't
Yeah.
remember. But yeah, I usually, which it's very calming. Like there's usually like some music playing in the background and you can kind of pick your time frame, like 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Do you ever do it? I guess we're talking about morning routines, but just curious, do you ever do like a sleep guided meditation, or are you a pretty good sleeper?
I haven't in a long time. When I was having more insomnia, I would typically put on more like calming sounds. So
Mhm.
like rain sounds or something like that. Um, but I haven't tried the meditation at night, but I feel like right now I'm just so tired at the end of the day that I fall asleep pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's another
Yeah.
great way to fall
Yeah.
asleep. I was gonna say, because that app, we've used it before too, and they have a section called Sleep Casts, and it's
Mm.
basically soothing storytelling. And, my husband sometimes has trouble sleeping. I put my head on a pillow, I'm out, but I would put a sleep cast on and I would name 3 titles and give him options, and the titles are just so funny and cute. Like, one of them was The Lazy Lagoon,
Oh, yeah.
and
I think I listened to a few of
yeah,
those.
and, like, The Cat in the Library, And so I would name 3 of these, like, nice soothing titles, and we'd pick one, and I'm telling you, like, he would just say 3 words, and we're like
I love that. That's such a good idea to try.
yeah, it's
Uh,
nice.
right? Because it's like I feel like another way of if I am not tired and I need to fall asleep is I usually read because it, like, settles my mind, and then I feel like I get, like, 5 pages in and I'm, like, just knocked out. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, were there other ones, Gabby, that you got from people that were interesting to you?
Yeah, so one person on Threads was saying, like, they open up all the blinds and let the daylight in, and I was like, "Oh, yes, I can so relate to that," because the act it's truly like a physical act of opening the light for the daytime, and then at night closing the blinds and bringing,
Mhm.
again, that coziness back inside. And you were even mentioning, I think we've heard it from Huberman Lab podcasts, like getting sunshine in your eyeballs within the first hour or 30 minutes of waking, how important that is. And it just really connects back with your circadian rhythm and tells you as a human being, okay, your day has started.
Mm.
And I love that. I think opening up the blinds, when that person said that, I was like, "Oh, of course. That's just it is." I actually think of myself, when I start the coffee machine, I am going opening up the blinds. It's just something natural that we do. So, I thought that was a really
I
good one.
I have a I'm curious because you live on a farm. Like if I had a yard, I feel like I would do this because growing up, I grew up on a farm and I like remember not like it was a part of my morning routine, but I just remember doing it from time to time. But like going outside in the morning with your bare feet on the grass. And I have heard people talk about how just like you connecting with the earth is really helpful. And so I'm curious if you do that because like, me thinking about it calms my body. I'm like, "Oh, that's the best when you're just, like, walking in the grass and, like, the sun is shining and, like, it's just quiet," right?
Yes, I did that in my suburb home. Like, I would go outside and get the mail barefoot all the time, but we had a front lawn, so that was
Yeah.
great. And yes, out here, always. Of course, not in the horse pasture because I don't wanna lose my toes, but, or step in anything. But yeah, as much as I can, Yeah, you're right. I think and my husband's from California and he, I swear, came out of the womb wearing flip-flops. And the man lives every season of his life in flip-flops. And so, yeah, he's constantly and we call it grounding. And so
Mm,
we go outside and ground in the earth. But maybe okay, I was just thinking this. What if you put like that cat turf or they have sometimes just little squares of turf that you could put on your porch. I wonder if it would
yeah,
feel the same.
the same. We do have that on our patio. I should try it in the morning. I will say because I, like, walk out there sometimes at night, and I do love just, like, being outside kinda because we have, like, a good view of the city, and so it is kind of, like, calming just to, like, go outside, so I should try that in the morning too. Yeah,
Yes, why
good
not?
call. Oh,
One
I
other
love
thing that
these.
came up was, I mean, this goes along with kind of movement as well as meditation, both yoga and journaling. And I will say, I forgot, I have the 5 minute journal
Mm,
and it's kind of, uh, I think there's like 4 questions in the morning that you answer, such as what would make today great? What is your affirmation for today? Or, what are you great? Yeah, no, I think that's kind of how you start your day. And then in the evening, you come back to it and it says like, what, so I can't even remember now. I do it every day and I can't remember, but it's like what made today great or what are some things you were grateful for and things like that. And so even that simple, act of gratitude in a small journal, or if someone's just kind of open writing, or even our phones now have this journal prompt. I don't know if you get prompted, but
no.
oh yeah, I must have been an update on my phone recently and it'll at the end of the day, it'll say, um, you know, write something about this photo you took today, or write something about and name one of the cities I was in that day or something. I mean, it's like borderline stalker, but I appreciate that it's telling me to like keep my memories. And
That's so
so,
cool. Yeah,
yeah,
I love that. That's a good excuse me. That's, like, such a good, yeah, reflection for the end of the day.
yeah.
I love that. So, Gabby, for you, what are some habits you're wanting to get rid of? And, like, why do you feel like it's maybe hard for you to let go of certain things or, like, either, I guess, like, habits that you're trying to get rid of, um, or, like, struggles that you have with trying to keep up maybe more healthy habits that are hard to, like, implement into your day?
That's a great question. I think overall, my biggest life challenge is consistency. I think when I think of business, my marketing plan, can I be consistent? Or blogging, consistency, sticking to protein intake, consistency. It's always something about consistency for me. So I just tell myself, do the best you can today, make good food decisions. Um, W w The meditation part and the breath work is something I really, really want to do daily that I really struggle with doing. It almost feels like I get anxious not doing like, it feels like I'm not doing anything and quote unquote wasting time during those 5-10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
But really, it's so important. And especially because I feel that way, I should do it more. So I guess that's more of a habit that I struggle with being consistent with that I know would be hugely beneficial. Um, Something that I want to get rid of, I would say probably my caffeine intake, although it's better. But I do like the idea of for a while we were just doing coffee on weekends and tea on weekdays. And I think it helped a lot with like nervousness and jitters and stuff like that. So maybe trying to keep that more. Um, and not looking at my phone first thing in the morning. I really have moments where I don't, and a screen, I guess, in general. So my YouTube videos in the morning, while they're cozy, I should probably just go out for a quick walk or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a tough one. I feel very addicted to it, um, and hard to break because my brain wakes up thinking about my email inbox.
Yeah.
So yeah, what
Yeah.
about you?
I would say the same for trying to break the habit of looking at my phone. I think I've been able to admit to myself that it's very much like a crutch of, oh, I'm bored or I'm overwhelmed. And so you kind of like doom scroll, right? Or like, you're like, what's everyone else doing with their life? Because it's probably better, right? Like, it's like this thing where you're like, I'm going to check in on everybody else. I feel like I've gotten a little bit better of not looking at my phone in the morning or just like getting on Instagram right away. Um, which on the mornings that I am able to do that, it just feels so nice. And then when it's like 10 a.m., I'm like, I haven't even looked at Instagram. I feel very accomplished. Like, I feel really proud of myself. But then I think the same goes at night. Like, to not look at my phone after a certain time at night or like in whatever videos, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. I would love to get better at that. I think that's definitely a thing that I could cut back on. I hate when I get like the time, on Sundays, your phone is like your screen time for the week. And you're like, are you sure you did that right? Like, I think Instagram was just open in the background. It's fine. Um, no, but that would be a habit I'd love to break. I mean, honestly, I'm like, if I could just delete Instagram for like a month, I would, but I feel like I can't because of my business. So maybe in the future, if I have
Yeah,
someone else running it.
I was gonna say maybe it's something you outsource even for a month and you're like, hey, I'm logging
Yeah,
off for a month. You handle it and we'll see how it goes. If it feels so great, maybe you keep that person on.
right. Yeah. Um, let's see, what was the other part of that? Oh, like habits that I wish I was doing more. I mean, I kind of feel the same of like keeping consistent with my meditation. And I also think just like more exercise. Like, I have a walking pad at my desk, and some days I just am too lazy to like pull it out, which is like so dumb. It's literally like
Mm.
right next to my desk. But I'm like, even if I could get 30, 45 minutes, which always goes by so fast, I'm like just answering emails. I'm like, oh, I've been walking for 45 minutes. So I think more movement in my day because I sit at my desk and stare at a screen like the majority of the day. And so I'd really love to figure out how to run my business and not be looking at a screen for 14 hours out of the day or whatever it is. I feel like it's a elongated period, right? Because if you think about it, you wake up, you typically look at your phone within an hour, you're on a computer, and then, you're on your phone again later or you're watching TV, something like that. I'm like, there's just always like a screen around. And so I would love to cut out some of that screen time.
Yeah, I'm with you and I wonder too because are we doing that to ourselves like in the sense should we say 3 p.m. every day, no more screens, we can have in-person meetings, we could have book reading books or learning something from a in-person course. I keep thinking I'm like, okay, all of those could be done online too.
Online, yeah.
But truly, like, is it a boundary question? Or like, I think us being in the service business that we're in, it's very customer service oriented. And I think we oftentimes feel like we owe people all of our time and responding
Mhm.
quickly and all that kind of stuff. But should we be putting together some boundaries where we're like, this is going to be the rest of the day is a no screen day and we're planting things or we're working on crafts or, reading an actual real book, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think you said reading. I got into it for a little while. Like, I go in spurts of like reading, and I've been reading a lot of like fiction too, which has been helpful. But I feel like just incorporating that into my day, whether that is in the morning when I'm awake and not doing it at night when I'm falling asleep. But that's such a good idea. Like, maybe it's like 4 to 5, I'm reading a book, whether it's like a book for your business or even if you need to like escape for a minute. I feel like just getting away from your screen is super helpful too.
Yeah. And speaking of, I guess, screens, but in other people's habits, what are your thoughts on these like 4 a.m. trends on TikTok where people act as though they are so super productive before 8 a.m. that it gives me anxiety personally. I'm like, that I can't function that way. But do we truly believe that's the key to success, or is it a little more personalized than that?
I think it's more personalized. I don't feel like you have to wake up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. or whatever it is. Like early bird gets the worm. Like, I don't think I believe in that because I do think every person is so different, right? Of like when you're most productive, when you're most creative throughout the day. And so I feel like if you want to sleep till 8 and you're, you know, doing more during the afternoon or more productive, more creative, I think that's totally fine. I mean, if I woke up at 4 a.m. every day, I'd be going to bed at like 8 p.m. and I don't want to miss out. I don't feel like that's realistic for my life of like doing things with friends or, if there's like a late night work thing, it's like harder to keep that schedule. So I would rather wake up at 7 a.m., a like proper time where I feel well rested versus like trying to wake up at 4 a.m. when it's still dark outside. I guess that's just not for me, but for some people it works really well. So
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
a
know.
good
What do you
point.
think?
No, that's a good point because I don't know that they say what time they go to bed. And that's
Mm,
important because if you're just moving your schedule from 4 a.m. to 7 p.m. as opposed to 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., then it's the same amount of time. I probably didn't calculate that right, but let's assume it's
right.
the same amount of time. You're just moving your day up a little bit earlier. So, yeah, to your point, if that stays the same, I would rather choose to wake up 7 a.m. and then go to bed at 10 or whatnot. I think, and I think back, like everybody's family situation is different. If they cannot have alone time starting at 7 a.m. to get their stuff done, or they have kids at home and they work from home, getting up even an hour earlier to power through an uninterrupted time of work or do your own thing, your own workout, self care, whatever that is, go for it. But um, this kind of hustle culture that we've talked about in previous episodes and feeling the need to be uber productive all the time is not where we're at, I don't think, in our life right now. There is probably a generation that is still going through that, and more power to you. But if you're listening to this and you're like, I can never get up before 7, neither can we. So please, please don't feel like you have to.
Well, I feel like the people that are like, if you're not waking up at 4 or 5 a.m., I feel like there's a lot of shame involved with it, which I think I've always felt. And I think it's just so not productive because it's like, why are we shaming people for not waking up early if they don't want to wake up early? Because, like, I'm not super productive. I've tried waking up super early to like work out or do work, and I'm just so groggy and like I can't function. But I'm also probably not going to bed at the appropriate time, right? Because I'm like, I need like 7, 8 hours of sleep a night to
Same.
function. But I just think like the shame associated with
Mhm.
that is just not helpful for anyone. So it's like,
Agreed.
if it works for you, great. If not, do what works for you.
Exactly. Now, if someone wanted to incorporate a new habit, however, because I think these are the conversations we're having, like we both know we're good at some stuff, but we know that we have other habits we want to incorporate. Tell us a little bit about like the concept of habit stacking and why it might be beneficial.
Yeah, I follow this girl online who is like a dietitian, um, and she has a great blog as well, but she has often talked about habit stacking. I feel like that's where I kind of like dove into it a little bit more. But essentially, it's like, let's say okay, at night, right? I have a non-negotiable of like I floss my teeth every single night.
Oh, you're a
And
good
so
flosser. I'm not there yet. I'm terrible, but
yeah.
I'm so glad you do that well.
And so that could be like a habit stacking, right? Of like, I know I brush my teeth every night. And so now I'm taking an extra minute to floss my teeth every single night. So it's like stacking a habit on top of one that's already in place, right? Like, I'm never not brushing my teeth before I go to bed, and so it's like, I'm just gonna add on this one other thing right before I brush my teeth. So that could be anything, right? Like in the morning, you said having or breakfast before coffee. So it's like, let's say coffee was the routine, right? But now it's like, I'm gonna make something, whether it's like eating a piece of cheese or having a banana, whatever. And so it's just like putting little habits together on top of ones that are already like non-negotiables, right? Like habits that are in place already.
Yeah, and I've also found to help with that is like preparing that element, making it visible in your face the night before. So when I was starting to eat, trying to do my smoothie before coffee, I would put my magic bullet out. I would put my
Mhm.
protein powder and my supplements or whatever else was going in it, and it was there and ready. So I had to look at that first before I got to the coffee machine. And it reminded me because sometimes we're just robots going through our morning routine, not even knowing we're doing certain things because it's a habit. So having it kind of visual and same with flossing, like I have my little floss pick. I maybe just need to lay it out
Yeah,
next to my toothbrush and so I'm like, "Oh, I have to take this before I take my toothbrush." So, yeah, and it takes what do they say? Like 21 days to form a
I
habit.
think
So I
so.
imagine it will take time. You just have to keep doing it.
Right. And I think about this often with things that I like don't want to do, like emptying the dishwasher or whatever it is. Like actually when I like break it down, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to time myself and like you empty the dishwasher in probably like 2 minutes, right? And so I think sometimes when we want to bring a new habit into place, it feels really overwhelming because we're thinking about the long-term goal of like doing it daily and it's being a part of our routine. But I think if we could break it down of like, I'm going to spend an extra 30 seconds, which is nothing out of my day to floss my teeth. And so I think when we think about it, like, I'm going to try it for 1 week and see how it goes and like kind of breaking down new routines, new habits into smaller goals, I feel like then it's easier for you to be like, that was easy. I flossed my teeth for a week. I can do it another week. And then it just kind of becomes second nature. So I feel like when I feel overwhelmed by new habits or things like that, I try to like think about it in a smaller scale.
That's a great tip, and I wanna say it's called the is it the Pomodoro method or something?
Oh,
Where they
maybe.
time I thought maybe I get it that wrong, but there was a method where they put a timer, and I saw this YouTuber, she has this little timer she got on Amazon, and it's pre-programmed with, like, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you just
Mm,
flip it for whatever minutes you want, and like, let's say you say, "I have to clean the bathroom," and you're like, "Okay, great, I only am giving myself 10 minutes to do that." Flip it and you just go, and when that timer, comes off, you're done. You have to
yeah.
stop, and you have to move on to the next task, and so I think if you are someone who dilly-dallies or, feels like they take too much time on certain tasks, like, yeah, set yourself a timer and just,
I
respect the
always
time.
think, yeah, I always think it's like so much more manageable when I break it down like that, where I'm like, I don't want to clean the bathroom. So then I'm like putting it off, right, till next week. But yeah, if you were like, I could pick this bathroom up in 5 minutes and set that timer, it's like a kind of like a race against the clock. So you're like, I can do this in under 5 minutes, you know? It's like
Yeah,
a
if you're
challenge for
competitive,
yourself.
that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. This was such a good conversation. I think, kind of to leave everybody with to wrap it up, I guess, is, if you're struggling with a morning routine, try habit stacking or time yourself, like we were talking about, or even just challenge yourself to implementing one new habit for a week and see how it goes. Because I think even with that, right, it's sort of like figuring out maybe I'm not great at meditating in the morning. Maybe I need to do it before bed. And so test it out for a week and see how it goes. But yeah, if you guys have great morning routines already and you want to show us on Instagram and tag us, like we'd love to see what you guys are doing. And I know I always get inspired by other people's morning routines to see like what do I want to add or implement into my day. So yeah, this was such a good conversation.
This was fun. I love talking about this kind of stuff.
Perfect. Well, thanks for joining us, Jabbers, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.